Okay, so we filled in some data and styling for 2 of the 3 sections of our dashboard page. We filled in some data for the account section, which shows our overall balance. And we also filled in some data for the portfolio section, in which we used a flat list to display a list of our positions. What we haven't done yet is fill out the prices of the indexes in this market section that we want to make. So what we need to do is have the ability to get stock quotes independent of any of the stock positions that we hold. So we want to get a stock quote for DIA, SPY, the Qs, and IWM so that we get an overall picture of the market at any given time. We want it to look like this kind of scoreboard look here where you have a symbol, we have an up or down arrow, and then we also have a price. So let's talk about how to get stock quote data from Alpaca. Now this part I found a little bit confusing because there's different versions of the API, and some say to go to data.alpaca.markets, and then some say to go to the Polygon integration. So it looks like Polygon is another service, but you can use your Alpaca API key here in the query string in order to access stock quotes. So that's what I did. So when I went to polygon.io, I found an endpoint that gave me what I wanted, and it was actually called snapshot is the one I used, and it's snapshot for a single ticker. And you see we can do v2 snapshot locale US markets, and then this long URL, and then the ticker. And then that'll give us a ticker, for instance, Apple. And then you can see the last trade here and use the P here, and that would be the price of the last trade. So we're going to call this API for each of the stock market indexes on our market data section. So let's go ahead and do that. So if you'll remember, we created services, alpaca.js here, but we also want to be able to access other services where we might need data, such as IEX Cloud, which is a common data provider, but we also might want to access data from like FinViz, or in this case, Polygon, which has a different base URL. So what I did was change this Alpaca service to use Alpaca API, and now there's a config Alpaca URL. And so in our main config here, I have Alpaca API key, the secret key Alpaca URL, and I added the Polygon URL, which is api.polygon.io. So we have a different base URL that we can use for our Polygon service. So let's go ahead and create that service now. I'm going to call it polygon.js. Since it's coming from a different service, we have a new file. And I'm going to use API sauce still. And so I will import that and also import my config from config. And then we'll start creating our new package or our new function. And so we'll have Polygon API. And that's going to have a base URL equal to config.polygon URL. And what are we going to do? Let's go ahead and create a new API inside of here. And I'm looking at my notes. I have API sauce.create, and the base URL is going to be the config.polygon URL. And then we'll do a timeout of 5,000. So in Polygon, we're appending our API key in the query string. So we'll do question API key equals instead of in the headers. So how do you do that? I looked that up for API sauce, and it looks like you create a params object. So you'll do const params equals, and this will be parameters that you pass to the API.get. So it'll be params, and then this is the name of the query string variable, so API key, and you'll do config.alpaca API key ID. So we can use the same key for this request. And then we'll make a get quote function, and then it will accept a symbol. And then this will call API.get, which is the Polygon API in this case. And then if you look, we have this snapshot locale US market stocks tickers ticker. And I pasted that into a browser just to see what that looks like. So you see I put my API key in there. I put the ticker symbol SPY, and I refresh it, and you see I got a response. So I know that works. And so I'll just take this part, the relative part, that's not part of the base URL, and I'm going to use these backticks here and do v2 snapshot locale, and instead of SPY directly, I can substitute the variable for symbol, And I can also, as a second parameter, if I do params here, API sauce will pass this API key in the URL and give it a value that I pass in. So that's my getQuote function, and I can return it. And then I can export Polygon API. And now I have a nice wrapper where I can get a quote for any symbol that's offered. So now I just need to import that into my dashboard screen. So in my imports here, I can do Polygon API from /services Polygon, and that is ready to go. So where do I use it? Well, we can also put this in component did mount, and let's just log it to the console. So this API is Alpaca API, so I'll make one called Polygon equals Polygon API. And then I can do polygon.getQuote. Let's do it for SPY. And then we can get our response. And let's log that to the console. So I'll do response right there. And if I log that response, got response from Polygon API. And I'm going to get rid of some of these other responses just because we have a lot of them. And I just want to isolate the ones we're working on. So let's do that. And let's see if we get a response from Polygon. So I'm scrolling down in my console. And let's see what we got. Yeah, so this looks like it got response from Polygon API. And you see we have response.data.ticker.lasttrade.p, which is 322.5. And then if we look at SPY stock, after hours, we have 322.50. So it looks like that's a good number that we can use. So let's use that. So since we're going to get SPY, QQQs, and so forth, let's create a quick constant in line here. And let's do symbols. And we'll just create a list of what we want. We want the Dow, we want S&P 500, and we want the Qs, and we want IWM. And the reason I'm using these ETF indexes, these symbols as a proxy, is because I believe it's harder to get real-time data about the index itself. But we have a rough idea of what we want by using these instruments. And these are the ones we would trade anyway, so we'll just use those for our overall status of the market. So we're going to get a quote for each of these, so we can just map a function. So we can do symbols.map, and then for each symbol, we can just call this getQuote, and it will call it for each symbol, and then when they're ready, they'll just update the state. So we'll do polygon.getQuote for the symbol, and then got response, and then this should get us 4 quotes. So if we look here, we should see 165, so that's probably IWM. So yep, there's IWM, and then Dow is the ticker here. So yeah, we're getting a response for all the symbols. And yeah, let's, for simplicity, let's go ahead and fill in, let's replace this text here. And we'll do this .state. Yeah, let's just have the attribute be the same key as the symbol. So we'll do this .state.spy, and that way we can just set it directly after each call. So QQQ and this .state.iwm. Okay, Dow, SPY, Q. Okay. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to get rid of some border colors here. And let's set our state for each of these as they come back. So get position or get quote. We'll do set state. And then let's get the current state equal this state, and then state, and then the symbol. So we'll do a variable for that key. So state, for instance, SPY, we'll set that equal to response.data. What does it look like? Response.data.ticker.lasttrade ticker.lasttrade.p. All right, so that'll be the state of the symbol. And then we'll set the state to state. Let's see how that goes. Okay, cool. So you'll see we filled in for the Dow. It's DIS 286, 322, 213, 165. Okay, so let me actually put the labels back there. So this dot state, and so we could do text, and then we'll do DIA, and I'll paste that a couple times, and then we'll label SPY, QQQ, and IWM. And then we should see the labels, and then we see the price under them. And so we can modify this a little bit and do class equals dashboard style dot index symbol. Okay, and let's do that a few more times. So I'll do that. Okay, and then we'll go back to our style sheet, and then we can do index symbol, and we'll make those larger. Index symbol and font size 32. Let's see how that goes. Index symbol. Oh yeah, so I typed class. Oops, I meant to type style. So we want style equals index symbol, style equals index symbol, and then we can finish this off. So we'll do text, and then let's add our labels back, IWM, SPY, and then we should be pretty close. And then looks like I had accidentally deleted text. Okay, so now we have a big old symbol, and we're off to the left. We're going to want to center these up. And then what else can we do? We have the price, and we can put up and down arrows. So let's do a price, index price, and then font size 18. And let's see if also we can do centering, how we can do some centering. So we have the alignment. Let's try align items center. Okay, so that centers the text, is great. And so let's pull this style out into its own. So we'll do style equals dashboard style dot scoreboard item. And so we'll put scoreboard item in here. And then this will just have flex 1, border width 1, align item center. Okay, and then let's do background color green 2. See how that looks. And then we'll do scoreboard item. There, you see the background color becomes green. And then we can do color white. And then we do maybe font weight bold. Okay. And then the price, let's see. Let's put the font here on actual text element. All right, so we're getting closer to what we want there. And now let's just switch over a few of these styles, and then we should be pretty good. So style equals dashboard style dot index price. We'll just do that across the board. Okay, and then we'll add these scoreboard item styles. All right, so there's that. And then we'll do here. Okay, so we have scoreboard item. We'll refresh that, and those will fill in as the requests finish. And then we can also add an arrow up or down. So if you remember earlier, we had those ionicons for up and down, and then we can add those to our scoreboard item. And so let's say we put those between the text. See how that looks? All right, and we don't want green, we want white here. All right, that's looking pretty good. And so let's add that to the other items here just to line everything up. And then the video is getting a bit long, so we'll start a new one fresh to clean everything up a little bit more. So let me get... All right, so my laptop just ran out of battery, so it's a good time to wrap it up. We've gone about 15 minutes so far. What I've done here is add some padding to all of these subviews and removed those borders that we had in place. And then I also took a minute to add some margin and border radius to all of these scoreboard items, so that way there's a little space around them. So that's looking pretty good. We'll make one more video to kind of polish this up, have it alternate red and green, whether it's a price that's up or down, and change the arrows, and also maybe put some decimals in here and color this header here. And that's about it for now. Let's do one more cleanup video to finish this off, and then we'll move on to another screen. Thanks a lot. Stay tuned for the next video.